All right, cool. So now we're going to take this all into post. So I'm going to show you how to do this in Premiere, but the idea is exactly the same with whatever editing program you're going to use, whether it's iMovie, Final Cut, DaVinci, whatever you want to use. Cool, so let's dive in. All right, so I'm going to airdrop the files to myself that we just recorded. Airdrop the audio file separately. All right, here we are in Voice Memo Recorder, the built-in recorder on the iPhone. And this is the recording I just took. And I hit the three dots here in the upper right corner, and then select share. And then I'm going to airdrop it to myself. There's me, and since this is a different phone, I've got to accept it on my computer. And there we go. Okay, I'm going to run through syncing audio and video, and as part of that, I'm going to run through setting up a new project in Premiere. Before we start Premiere, before we set up a new project in Premiere, make sure that your files are organized. This is a tiny project, and so we really just have one video file, one audio file, but I want to make sure that I'm always organized this way. So I got my sound folder and my footage folder. If I go back up one, this is a folder that I made for the whole demo, and you see I've got it organized the same way. I've got all my sound in here, all my footage in here, and I always stay organized that way. I have a PNG element. It's that red arrow that shows up. I keep that in there, and then I always actually organize my exports the same way. Right now I just have one export, but if I have multiple versions, they'll always go in there. And then there's the Premiere project for that whole thing. We're going to be here in the homework demo folder. And so now that we've got our footage and sound organized the way we want it, I mean, it's a little funny because it's such a tiny project, but still stay organized. We can start Premiere. All right, here we are in Premiere. This is the landing screen that you'll be greeted with, unless this is your very, very first time opening Premiere. I'm going to click on New Project. This is our new project window. I'm going to give it a name. It's going to be the homework demo. I'm going to give it a location. It's a previous project I was working on. I've already made that folder and selected it, but I'm just show you where it's at. It's homework demo. I'm going to open that. There's our footage and our sound. So I'm just going to choose this location. We can import the footage and sound through this window if we want. I just drag things in manually. So at this point, I'm going to click Create. Here we are in our empty project window. So I'm going to go back over to the Finder. Oh, there's a Premiere project that we just placed. I'm going to drag footage and sound and drop them in. There's just one file for each, so it didn't even bother putting them in bins. I'm going to drag my footage over and drop it over into the timeline window, and that creates a timeline workspace with the same video and audio settings from that video file. And here it is. There's our sequence. I'm going to change this name to homework demo, and I always like to work versioning up. So this is the very first version, so demo 01. Cool. Now you can see that our editing workspace sequence is titled homework demo.01. And I know that I'm going to want two of these files here because I'm going to do one as a single source recording setup where I use the audio that was recorded in the video camera that's about 10 feet away from me here. I'm going to click Option. So I'm going to press Option on the keyboard, hold it down, click and drag, and now we have our second instance of that same video file. And I'm going to press Option plus to zoom into the audio, because that's going to be important here. We're going to be working in the audio. Cool. And then for this second instance, we're going to bring in the audio file that we recorded separately. I'm just going to plop it here. Real quick, you can see the clap in the video. There's the clap. And you can actually see the clap in the waveform. I'll zoom in a little bit. That's that big spike right here. You can see as I scrub through, that's the point of contact. So even without listening to it, I can tell that this is the clap in the audio file. And so to line it up, there's a couple of different ways. This is such a small project. There's one video file, one audio file, that it's quite easy to just manually line them up. So I'll zoom in. So I'm nudging things over by one frame at a time. And there we go, they're lined up. This is now synced. Premiere can also do this automatically if things were not lined up. Then you would just select the corresponding video and audio files. So in this case, it's just this one video file and one audio file. You'll right click and then go down to synchronize. Premiere has a couple of different ways it can synchronize audio and video. It can synchronize them to the clip start. I don't want to do that because my clip started at different times. It could synchronize to clip end. I don't want to do that either because I cut clips on the camera and the audio recording phone different times. It can synchronize using timecode. None of the devices that I use were recording timecode. But it can also synchronize using the audio waveforms, so audio. And the one that I want Premiere to synchronize the audio to is I want to use track 1's audio as like the main thing to synchronize to, like as the target, I should say. So I'll just say track 1 audio. So I'll click OK. It's going to evaluate the audio waveforms and then line them up. So you can see it did it automatically. Again, this is a small project, so syncing it manually versus automatically, there wasn't much of a time change. But if you had many of these, you could, select those groupings all at once and synchronize them that way. Cool. And then, just to make it super tidy, I can trim the video to the same duration as the audio. So I know that these two, they belong together. They're easy. If I accidentally move one, I know, well, they're the same duration, so I can just move them back together really easily. Cool, so now I have one instance of just a single source recording setup and another instance of the double source recording setup. Sorry, double system recording setup. And at this point, before I start moving forward with the edit, this is a fantastic sort of spot to work from. And so I'm going to version up my edit. So this is homework demo.01. I'm going to click on the sequence over here, say duplicate, and change this to .02. And then double click on it. And now I'm going to move on with my edit. And so one thing I know right away is that I want this single system recording setup to just use the audio from the phone that recorded the video. But this one, I don't want to use that audio at all. I want to use this new audio. So I'm going to unlink these. Going to click on the audio, hit delete on the keyboard, bump this up just to keep it tidy, and then select them both again and select link. So now I have, this is the single system recording setup and this is the double system recording setup, but it's just a little bit more tidy and they're linked so that if I move them around now, they're not going to fall out of sync. All right, so for the first setup, I don't need the clap because there's nothing getting synced there. And I'm going to be pretty arbitrary about this. I asked for these clips to be 15 seconds long. So I'm just going to drag the duration until it is exactly 15 seconds. 1422, that's fine. I'm going to ripple delete this down so that they are adjacent. Zoom in a little bit. I do want to see the clap for this one, so I'm going to trim right up to the clap. And then again, 15 seconds long is fine with me. So 15 seconds. That's fine. Let's see what this duration is. 14, there we go, 15 even. Cool. And then just like right away, you can see a couple of things. So when the iPhone records audio alongside video, it records a stereo file, but you can see how small that waveform is compared to how healthy this waveform is. When I recorded in Voice Memo Recorder, it recorded a mono file, which is fine because the source is just dialogue. We don't need to have, all sorts of immersive stereo separation. And then if I play this, check out the amplitude on the volume meter here. So we're getting like from -30 to like -18. And if I listen over here, it is so rainy today. I do not want to go outside. I'm going to stay here in the kitchen. We're getting like -18 to -6 with an average of -12. So right off the bat, having the audio recorder closer to the sound source, my voice in this case, is generating a much higher signal. And if we bump this one so that we land these levels where these levels are landing. I do not want to go outside. I'm going to stay here in the kitchen. I'm going to go outside. I'm going to... There. you can really hear how much louder the ambient room tone is and how much quieter the sound that I want to record, my voice in this case, is. And so recording as a double system recording setup is generating a much higher quality audio file for us, and just in general, like, you know, a better produced video. Okay, so for our homework, I asked for these to be labeled. So let's generate some text. This is the double system recording. Video was the iPhone 13 Pro. Audio was the iPhone XS, and then a little bit of context hidden behind the table. I don't like that font. Now you're just watching me fuss with fonts. Give me something sans serif. Sure. It's nice. Give me some of that Wes Anderson yellow. Some drop shadow. Turn up the opacity on the drop shadow. Great. It's not perfect, but it does it. Cool. That's the duration of this clip. Going to press and hold Option on the keyboard, click and drag to duplicate that text, so I've got a good starting off point for labeling this one. This one is a single system recording with the video and audio getting recorded by that iPhone 13 Pro. Let's drop this down so it looks tidy. And I'm actually going to use this as a good starting off point for my title text that I asked for. Ooh, I don't like that spacing. So I wanted name and double so I can type. Double system recording demo. I want this centered on screen vertically and horizontally. And the duration of the title card can be very short. Let's just do 2 seconds. Let's ripple delete that down, and here we go. So we have some dead space up front. Cool. We start out with our title card, 2 seconds of that. Our first system recording, which is a single system. Fix that spacing there. 15-second clip of that. What's going on here? Some funky spacing here. Cool. And then we go into our double system recording setup. I don't like that. Great. Cool, and there's our whole thing, and the whole duration is just under 32 seconds. That's fine. Let me zoom in and make sure I don't have any weird endings. Cool. All right, so let's export this. So File, Export Media. Give it a name, homework demo, it's fine. Give it a location. Homework demo is perfect. And then I'm gonna host this on YouTube. So I'm gonna use the YouTube 4K preset. That's totally fine. I shot it in 4K on the iPhone, so it's good to go. And then click export. Great, now it's exported. And the last thing I want you to do with all video files that you export is circle back to QuickTime and just watch the piece all the way through. All right, there we go. That is syncing sound either manually in the timeline or automatically in Premiere.